This week's words of the master is dealing with a stumbling block. A stumbling block. We're looking at Matthew 18:6 through 14, Mark 9:36 through 50, 38 through 50, and Luke 49 and 50. A stumbling block. Let's see. I think we can let's just look at, we'll just go through Matthew's version and we'll add in some of the other parts as they become appropriate. Let's go ahead and read through Matthew 18:6 through 14.
Matthew 18, verse 6, but whoever causes one of these little ones who believe in me to stumble, it is better for him that a millstone be hung around his neck, that he be drowned in the depth of the sea. Woe to the world because of stumbling blocks, for it is necessary that stumbling blocks come, but woe to the man by whom the stumbling block comes. And if your hand or foot causes you to stumble, cut it off and throw it away from you. It is better for you to enter into life lame or crippled rather than having 2 hands or 2 feet be thrown into the everlasting fire. And if your eye causes you to stumble, pluck it out and throw it away from you. It is better for you to enter into life with 1 eye rather than have 2 eyes to be thrown into the fire of Gehenna. See that you do not despise one of these little ones, for I say to you that in the heavens their messengers always see the face of my Father who is in the heavens. For the Son of Adam has come to save what was lost. Do you think if a man has 100 sheep and one of them goes astray, he would not leave the 99 on the mountains going to seek the one that is straying? And if he should find it, truly, I say to you, he rejoices more over the sheep than over the 99 that did not go astray. Thus it is not the desire of your Father who is in the heavens that one of these little ones should be lost.
All right, very good. So let's go back up to the top here, back in verse 6. It's interesting when we look at this, where a few things that we want to think about here. In verse 6, it's talking about whoever causes one to stumble. Not so much the idea of stumbling, but whoever causes one of these little ones who believe in me to stumble. That's how he starts off talking about it, right? Whoever causes one of these little ones who believes in me to stumble. And so these little ones could be defined, I think, by what the context of all of this is. You know, he talked about, first of all, in relation to the disciples and that question about who would be the greatest in the kingdom. And he said, the one who becomes as these little ones. And so as he continues to the top, then he gets to this over here. Whosoever causes one of these little ones, well, what little ones is he talking about? Someone who caused himself to be as a little one and that was converted. And so he's really talking about a converted believer. That's who he's talking about. One that has met the qualifications of entrance into the kingdom. And so I think this entire discourse really is about taking what belongs to the master and diminishing that relationship that exists between the master and his converted people. Whoever causes one of these little ones who believe in me to stumble. Believing in Messiah is not the default. Believing in Messiah is something that happens next, after. Right? That's something that becomes. It talks about the idea of being converted, turning, and becoming as a little one. And so now he's talking about whoever causes one of these little ones who believes in me to stumble. He talks about this terrible thing. It's better for him that a millstone is hung around his neck and he's drowned in the depths of the sea. That sounds terrible. But really those Romans, those Greek people, they did this kind of thing.
Yeah.
They were experts at killing people. Genius killers. If you was going to die, they expertly knew how to unalive you, as they might say today.
Yeah.
All of that. Torture, all bad things, they were experts at that. Torture, death. This particular thing is torture that leads to death.
Yeah.
Drowning, that's terrible, right? It's torture that leads to death. But he said it's better for him that a millstone be hung around his neck and be drowned in the depths of the sea than to cause one of these little ones who believe in me to stumble. For somebody to come around and to pull at a person away from the master, it's better for that person to die some horrid, terrible death than to do that, to participate in that. It would be better for that person to be handed over to the ones who specialize in torture and death. It's better for them to have been handed over to those masters of evil than to take one of these little ones who believes in me and cause them to stumble. That's how he starts this whole thing off here. And so again, I think that this whole all begins with one who has begun to believe already. Not like a little kid, not like a random just child, but one who has become as a child and who believes in Messiah.
Let me, like how far did they go?
Huh?
I said, I don't know how far they went with it if they fell away. Or is it just stumbling as in not causing them to turn away altogether, but to kind of get off course somewhat in their walk? Or cause them to engage in some kind of sin?
Well, let's look at some things here. Let's look at the next verse and explore this idea, because you really want to know what it is to stumble, right? But let's read verse 7 again.
Verse 7?
Yeah.
Okay. Woe to the world because of stumbling blocks, for it is necessary that stumbling blocks come, but woe to that man whom the stumbling block comes.
Okay, so this is an interesting addition to the situation here. We think about the fact that he said it's necessary that stumbling blocks come. He said it's necessary, it's necesito, that stumbling blocks come. It's necessary. That word there, must needs, needful. A compelling force. Is a moral necessity. This thing is going to come about, stumbling blocks. He said, woe to the world because of stumbling blocks. And the fact that it's necessary that stumbling blocks come. Out there in that world, woe to that world, because there ain't nothing but stumbling blocks over there. And by the way, it's necessary that stumbling blocks come. It's part of your situation. It's part of your everyday life, stumbling blocks. Right? If you got a perfect life, you're probably in gross iniquity. You're going along with the world system, and the world system is just all right with you. But when you're on the other side of things, it's necessary that stumbling blocks come. But he said, woe to that man by whom stumbling blocks come. So you're a placer of the stumbling blocks. You be putting stuff up in people's way so that they can stumble. You're a causer of stumbling. More specifically, a causer of ones who believe in Messiah to stumble. And so the question is, what's a stumbling block? What is it? Just like a trip up, a slip up, a fall? Let's look at stumbling block. Look at that word there in verse 7. Stumbling block. Pull that up there. Scandalon. Scandalon sounds like scandalous. Oh, a scandal. Probably derivative of this 2578. A trap stick. A snare. Figuratively, cause of displeasure or sin. An occasion to fall. Offense. Thing that offends. Stumbling block. Look at Thayer's. Pull Thayer's up. Put that word there. He said it's a movable stick. Something that you putting in the way. A trigger of a trap. You know, like how they got the little bear traps where you walking and you hit the trigger, the thing snaps down on you.
That's what my sister in that trap, she had.
Oh yeah, she got like a literal trap. where they go in there and then they go in, but it causes the door to close down on them and they can't get back out.
I thought she was gonna say she had a bear trap. I'm like, what's she trying to
Like a
catch?
little critter trap.
I'll
But-
show you what she had to deal with.
Oh yeah, show 'em later. But look at that 1B right there. Any impediment placed in the way and causing one to stumble or fall, a stumbling block, occasion of stumbling. And so, when we think about the idea of a stumble, we can call stumble sin. We can call it error, but we don't have to make it not be sin because I don't know what else it could be, right?
Yeah.
And so, yes, we may stumble, but our problem is, if we're shooting towards the mark, it's one thing to be trying to hit the mark and miss. I'm not perfect. I'm not going to hit the mark every time, but that's what I'm trying to do is hit it. Right, but when somebody come along and then they moving the goalposts, or somebody come along, you get ready to throw it and they hit your elbow, right? Go ahead.
I think his people saying that one of the things they had the beam too low or something. Got on stage and like the gymnasts were missing it because they was expecting it to be there at a specific time. And they kept falling off of it. It's like, to me, it's I don't know if it's intentional, but it's an intentional moving of a mark. Like, because I saw that moving, some movable stick.
Yeah.
It's like, they think they did something, but then no, it's like a moving.
Yes, so you're talking about the one who did that.
Yeah, the person.
And so, but when we're thinking about this in terms of our relationship with the Most High, then now, we're talking about somebody who's putting sin in the way and putting it there so that one can be enticed by it or deceived by it.
Quick, easy, prime example. This music that targets our people. No other community make such garbage music. Then you pay the person to become an idol. You make them rich, so now the young people look at them as an idol. Then that message, you publicly distribute it. Every year, and it gets worse.
Terrible.
One of the biggest stumbling blocks right in our face.
Terrible.
Yeah.
And so the thing is here, now I think the thing that's so bad about this is that yes, it's somebody who's putting a stumbling block in the way, but when you think about what we just talked about as far as the Torah is concerned, when you think about the idea of guarding the Most High's commands. And so if I've properly guarded the commands, then I'm able to also guard against the stumbling blocks. And right, so yes, we're talking about someone putting something in your way, but we also have to be able to dodge the thing that's put in our way. Because we and them are going to be held responsible if not.
Yeah.
Let's go back to Matthew 17 and 27. Let's go over to Matthew 17 and 27 so that we can look and see Because Yeshua, he practiced what he preached. Because he wasn't about putting stumbling blocks in people's ways. Right? Let's look over at Matthew 17 and 27. What does it say here?
It says, but lest we cause them to stumble, go to the sea, cast in a hook, and take the fish that comes up first, and when you have opened its mouth, you shall find a stater. Take that and give it to them for meat and you.
Okay, so we saw when the temple people came and was trying to get some extra monies from the disciples and Yeshua. Yeshua wasn't necessarily with what it was that they was doing, but he went along with the thing, just not to bring any, if not only just to not bring any undue attention to himself, but maybe other people looking on who don't fully understand that these people is kind of crooked, even though they sit over there and do the things which is supposed to be quote unquote for the temple. Somebody could look at that and be like, man, he don't want to pay the temple money? I thought he's supposed to be this holy guy. And so as to not cause a stumbling block, not to necessarily agree, because he probably could have went into his pockets. You gotta could have went into the disciples' treasury and pulled out something. But he said, nah.
Yeah, he did have some money.
Huh?
He did have some money.
They went around with their money. You know, Judas, he took care of the money, but if he didn't squander it away. He said, all right, just go over here, you know, do this little thing, go get this fish, cut it open, there's going to be some money in there. Get that to him so he can be happy. But the idea was is that he didn't do something to offend or put a stumbling block in somebody else's way who may have seen what had happened. So this thing that he did is totally on the strength of not causing people to gain a negative or a false perception of who he is, Yeshua. Right? And so he's dealing with the same principle back there in Matthew 17 of causing an offense with others and what somebody's perception of the situation is. Right? And so you don't want to be a stumbling block in general, but especially not to, as what he's talking about here, to believers or true believers, these little children, as what he says. Right? And so when you think about this, Yeshua is giving this idea of, you know, watch what it is that you do, because there's people that's watching that could potentially see the things that you're doing, and it caused them to be offended. Go ahead.
I think about just how we're supposed to be living epistles in this world, and you know, someone, you know, we have some bad interactions with someone or whatever. Later on, they find out that we're believers in the Messiah, and they be like, well, I don't want anything to do with that because I had this bad interaction with this person.
Yeah.
How is what they're doing anything that I'd be interested in doing? And so it's, you know, it's like people, you know.
Yeah. So watch what you do then, right? Watch what you say. Watch what you post. Watch what you share. right? Because you brought up the scripture of being a living epistle. So what if somebody opens up the Bible and looks at one of these epistles, they should just naturally look at that and be like, oh, this is the Bible. I'm supposed to be doing this thing or not doing that thing. But if you're a living epistle, people are looking at you and say, oh, you're a representative of Messiah, so you say the things that you do, I should be doing those things too, or not doing them. And so when you do this or that, sometimes it becomes necessary for you to not do a thing, not even in the area of right or wrong. That's what we see Yeshua doing. It wasn't even about right or wrong, because the temple thing was probably mostly wrong. But it really wasn't about right or wrong. It just was about people's perceptions. That Yeshua said, oh, whatever, give them some money. Right? Look over at 2 Corinthians 5:20 and 21.
2 Corinthians 5:20. Therefore, we are envoys on behalf of Messiah, as through Elohim when pleading through us. We beg on behalf of Messiah, be restored to favor with Elohim. For he made him who knew no sin.
Wait a second. Can we get the King James version of that? Sometimes
The whole thing?
please. Sometimes the KJV is just better.
It got the words right, kind of right. Okay. It says, now then, we are the ambassadors for Yeshua, or Mashiach, as though Yahweh did beseech you by us. We pray you in Mashiach's stead, be ye reconciled to Yahweh.
And 21 too.
For he has made him to be sin for us, who knew no sin, that we might be made the righteousness of Yah in him.
Now see, this is an interesting verse right here. That, we have to be ambassadors. Ambassadors for Messiah. And so he said, as though Elohim did beseech you by us, he beseeched you by us. He said, us is people. Elohim did something to you by us, people. We pray you in Messiah's stead. Since Messiah ain't physically here, but we're here as his ambassadors, and then so we'll pray you instead of Messiah, because we're the ambassadors. You see? And so we're representatives of Messiah walking around on this earth. And so it's a branding thing. Right? He has a particular brand, and we got to maintain that brand. You think that Messiah is less prestigious than some of these things that go around here? If you like with one of these tennis shoe brands or one of these whatever brands in the world, and then you got some controversial thing, it don't even gotta be true. But if you got some controversy connected to you, them people get rid of you so fast because they don't want to be part of that. They don't want people to look at their thing and think about this whatever controversy that you got going on.
It's not even guilty or innocent.
It don't got nothing to do with that. It's just perception. Right?
Yep.
And so how much more so the Most High and Messiah. Because you're an ambassador. Look at that word there, ambassador. It's interesting the definition here, because this one word kind of has two seemingly separate definitions. Presbyuo, to be a senior, to be like an old person, right? That is, act as a representative, right? So what do those things got to do with one another? An old person and a representative? I don't know, but it seems like an old person been doing something for a while. Right? He's been on this earth doing this thing that we think of as life for a while. He's represented alive people over a long period of time consistently, right? Because he's still not dead. Right? He's a representative. Look at what was you? Did you put your hand
I
up?
was gonna say, I went to, when I was out yesterday, and I'm like a first year in something. That's like second year, third year. People that's been there longer are mentors to people that are just coming in the door.
Yeah, the old ones.
Well, yeah, and they can even just be second year, but they have some amount of experience
Yeah.
where they can share their experience with the program and maybe even make those coming in feel more confident or more comfortable.
Yeah. Yes.
That's when I think about the seniors.
Senior. Yeah. They are battle tested.
Like, I mean, even his he did his whole first year as a counselor. People that are coming in, they might be wondering about what it is like to be that. And he just did 1 year. He's not even been here that long. But, he's able to represent and tell them what to expect.
Right. So let's look at that. Hit on that word representative there and look up. Look it up in the. Double click on. You gotta go to the Strong's. Look at representative, which is in the definition of presbyuo. Double click on that and look it up in the 1828 dictionary. Representative. Okay, so look at representative. Let's see. Look at the noun there. One that exhibits the likeness of another. In law, one that stands in the place of another as heir or in the right of succeeding to an estate or inheritance. It's interesting that when we think about representative, it mentions ambassador, but when we think about what we think of as like an ambassador, like an embassy, somebody who represents that nation in other nations. They go places and they're like a representative of that nation. And so in the olden times, that idea of an ambassador was kind of like how when we see like the messenger of Yahweh, where the things that he's saying is just what the Most High said. He's not adding no words to it. He's saying exactly what it is that the Most High said. He's not giving you like an interpolation of what the Most High said. He's literally saying word for word only what it is that the Most High said. He's a representative of the Most High, and his words are exactly what the Most High has said. And so, from an ancient perspective, when we think about an ambassador for Messiah, you're literally like Messiah walking around. You're only saying the things that he has said for you to be saying. And so, for you to divert from that is outside of the scope of your situation.
You don't have your
Right, yeah, you can. You're a representative of Messiah. And so you have to be able to know that if I sit up here and say this, if I sit up here and do this, if I sit up here and go along with this idea, I'm either saying that Messiah go along with it, or I'm defamating his character by going along with it.
That's I tell my children a lot of times. My opinions are Messiah's opinions. If it ain't, if it's in there to have an opinion about, that's where my opinions are. It's like I don't even got to come up with my own opinion on a lot of stuff because it's already made for me. My opinion's already there.
Yeah. Let's look at Ezekiel 14, 10 and 11.
14.
Ezekiel 14, 10 and 11, because Yeshua, he's emphasizing the one causing the stumble, right? But there's more to consider, which is probably the reason why there's this severity that's included in this thing that he's saying. Because this thing, for somebody to cause this thing, is so bad that it's worse than the worst kind of killing that you could think about. Let's look at Ezekiel 14 and read verses 10 and 11.
Go back to the scriptures. Ezekiel 14 and 10, and they shall bear their crookedness. The crookedness of the prophet is the same as the crookedness of the inquirer, so that the house of Israel no longer strays from me, nor be made unclean anymore with all their transgressions. And they shall be my people, and I be their Elohim, declares the Master Yahweh.
That thing said that the crookedness of the prophet or the false prophet is the same as the crookedness of the inquirer. So it's all iniquity, whether it be the one who's causing the stumbling or is the one who's stumbling. It may be worse for the one who's causing these other ones to stumble. It may be worse for them, but it's pretty bad for the other one too if he stays in that place. It's all bad. It's not like you get some kind of an exemption because of the fact that somebody brought you that way. It's all crookedness. It's all perversion. It may be worse for the one who's causing it, but it's still crookedness, perversion, nonetheless. And so that's why, we have to. It's interesting when Yeshua here is talking about this believer, this converted one, and dealing with them as children, referring to them as children, because that's, I think, only understanding the fact that they have to be redesigned and refurbished and transformed into something else. Not that you stay as a child, but that you forget about your old ways and start new ways, which involve growth and maturity. And so with that, thinking back to what we were talking about before in terms of guarding the law, statutes, and commands in terms of guarding one's life and the like, it's necessary for us to be able to understand the character of the Most High to the point that when those come around that are doing things that aren't in line with the Most High, at some point we should be able to dodge and deflect those things. Because it's interesting, when we go back to Matthew, he went from talking about the one who kind of facilitates the stumbling to bringing it back to the individual, because he starts talking about things that are on you as a person. Right? Read again verse 8.
No, that wasn't Matthew 17. That was
18.
Verse 8. And if your hand or foot causes you to stumble, cut it off and throw it away from you. It is better for you to enter into life lame or crippled rather than having 2 hands or 2 feet to be thrown into the everlasting fire.
Okay, so yes, he has the idea of somebody who's coming along placing a stumbling block in front of you is bad for them. They've done a bad thing. It's better for them to endure some terrible torture and death than it is for them to do that to you. But then now he brings a responsibility back to your own self to deal with your own situations in regards to stumbling as well. If you got a hand or a foot that caused you to stumble, you better cut that thing off. And not only cut it off, but throw it away from you. As if you just cut it off and just left it right there and try to get back on you. Why couldn't you just cut it off? Why you got to cut it off and throw it away from you?
You're supposed to be mad at it. You're gonna be like, you trying to get me killed.
Right? And so he don't literally mean for you to be cutting limbs off, right? But things that draw you to worldly attachments, you have to get those things far away from you. You know, unfortunately, I always remember the demented person that I met when I was working at the mental institution that read verse 9 and literally did that to himself. You know, Yeshua is not literally telling you to pluck your eyes out if you have some type of lust problem. But he is telling you that you need to refocus your eyes and do something with yourself that causes you not to be in a particular situation that's going to cause you to go outside of the will of the Most High. He don't want you to actually physically torture yourself. But the point is that you need to remove these desires and carnal desires away from you and, you know, be repurposed and transformed in Messiah so that you're able to not go to the fire. Okay. Let's drop down. Let's look at verse 10. Read verse 10 here.
See that you do not despise one of these little ones, or I say to you that in the heavens their messengers always see my face and of my Father who is in the heavens.
Okay, so again, this is kind of like a continuation of what they was just talking about in terms of this whole idea of greatest in the kingdom. And so if I'm saying that I want to be greater than you, I'm lessening you by trying to be greater than you. And so if I'm doing that, I'm actually despising you because I'm causing you to be lesser than what you are supposed to be. And so again, we think about this idea of, what Yeshua is saying in this context here, when he says here, see that you don't despise one of these little ones. Again, these little ones are the converted believers in Messiah. And so we can't be causing them to be lesser by wanting to be greater or the greatest, and we can't be leading them astray. Because the whole point of all of this is to save what is lost, what he says in the next verse. The whole point is saving what is lost. And so then he goes into, lastly, this whole idea of the sheep, right? Read again 12 through 14.
Okay. What do you think? If a man has 100 sheep and one of them goes astray, will he not leave the 99 on the mountains, going to seek the one that is straying? And if he should find it, truly, I say to you, he rejoices more over that sheep than over the 99 that did not go astray. Thus, it is not the desire of your Father who is in the heavens that one of these little ones should be lost.
Okay, very good. So again, when we think about that which is lost, the default is being lost. And so to come out of that situation of being lost, and then for someone to come along back behind and then try to pull that one back into where they've already been rescued from, right? This is what he's talking about. And so, again, it helps us back to understanding about, our grand purpose. Our grand purpose is to actually be in that sheepfold. If you in the fold, you're in good shape.
Yeah.
So, nobody got to worry about somebody who's in the fold because they're fine. The one you need to worry about is that one who was in the fold who got out. We got to try to bring that one back in. And that's a representative of the people of the Most High. I don't know who the perfect ones are, who's the 99. Besides somebody who's already been gathered in. But you can't be in outside of Messiah, so it got to be somebody who came in. Right?
Yeah.
Who they are, I think, really it doesn't matter.
I think what matters for who they are, they need to be bringing more into the fold.
Yes.
That's all that matters.
Yeah.
If you're part of that fold,
Yeah.
just like the shepherd went out and get them,
Yes.
you got to go out and get some people too that you can bring into the fold. I think that's what matters.
Even in the thing that Yeshua is saying, he brings up the 99 not to emphasize the 99.
Right.
He brings up the 99 to emphasize that one that ain't part of the 99.
Yeah.
He emphasizes that just to show the idea that yeah, I got all of these over here, but what about the one who ain't over here? I need to leave them just so I can get them. And so the idea is having that heart for those that are on the outside, because we want them to be on the inside. And so when these ones come around that are trying to pull those that are inside out, we got problems with them. For those that are already out, we don't got problems with them, but our focus should be them so that they can be in. Lastly, I want to look at Mark's version of what it's talking about here. We could probably end on this here. Let's look at Mark 9:38 through 50. Because it's an interesting kind of a thing that happens here. If we just read Mark 9:38 through 40.
And Yohanan said to him, Teacher, we saw someone who does not follow us, casting out demons in your name, and we forbade him because he does not follow us. And Yeshua said, Do not forbid him, for no one who works a miracle in my name is able to readily speak evil of me. For he who is not against us is for us.
Okay, very good. So this is an interesting thing here where these people are doing kingdom work. And the disciples, John here specifically, wants to try to criticize the people who doing kingdom work because they not doing it with Messiah and the rest of the disciples.
Because he ain't with our king.
Yeah. Exactly. It's not about that. It's about the kingdom work. They may or may not be helping themselves. They may or may not have secured a spot for them their own selves. But what they're doing is helping other people find the way. So they're doing kingdom work. Yeshua necessarily, he's not speaking here necessarily about that guy, whether he's right or whether he isn't right. He's doing the work. He's not against us, so he's for us. He's doing the kingdom work. He don't gotta be doing it the way we doing it. He didn't say that he was casting out demons in somebody else's name. He's casting out demons in Yeshua's name. He just ain't with us. I don't know who gave him the power to do it. I guess that's what John is like. Where this guy come from?
Yeah.
Who is he to be doing this or that?
That's interesting. In his name.
In
He
Yeshua.
already tapped into that power.
Yeah, he tapped in. So Yeshua, like right or wrong, don't matter. Don't sit up there and talk against him. He doing the work. I sent you out to do it, and then you came back talking about it was too hard. And y'all literally I placed my hands on you and sent you out personally. These people didn't do nothing but just hear about me, and they out there doing it. You better shut your mouth in regards to them.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
That reminds me of like people who like we know people who, like, maybe they grew up in the faith and then they told their friend at school about it. And their friend at school who didn't even grow up in this ends up being more powerful of a believer, doing more work for the kingdom than the child that grew up in the house that told that person. You know what I'm trying to say?
Yeah.
And we know that example, and it's like, you know, they hear about it, they might not be walking and with them, but they're obviously in his name.
Yeah.
That's just amazing.
And so I think as Yeshua continues, as he goes down, and again, this is still talking about someone who's causing someone to stumble. If the disciples say was to go in and forbid that other one from doing the thing that he's doing, I think this is all comes back to the whole idea of what would that look like for that person coming in. And I think that Yeshua, again, he don't even get into any of that, because he, at the end of the day, is just dealing with kingdom work. I think sometimes we get too caught up on specifics, technicalities, and all these things, when at the end of the day, it really got to be about the kingdom. It really got to be about the kingdom and people coming into a right relationship with the master. These other things can be worked out or not worked out. But there's more important things than worrying about whose group one belongs to if kingdom work is being done by all. I think that's the most important point.
It's like the work of the group should be more important than the group.
Yes.
So
Yes.
like, how you going to value a group by just the piece, the work?
It's all about the work. And so it don't matter necessarily who you with when you're doing the work.
Right.
I mean, if you ain't doing the work, that's one thing. But if you're doing the work, that can't be, you can't talk against that.
Right.
Yeshua didn't talk against it. We don't know who these people are. But they going out doing the things in his name, and he said they for us. And so, kind of closing down, we just have to remember our purpose being about kingdom work, and understanding that we have to, as ambassadors, as representatives of the Most High, always remembering that we have to live and be a certain way so that we can always, people's looking at us that we don't even know is looking at us. Somebody's watching you to see what your next move gonna be. And so we have to always have that in mind, to know that everything that we do, we have to be that right representative of Messiah so that we don't cause somebody to stumble. Because Yeshua is saying that it can really be bad for us to be somebody who's doing that. Like, you really got to go back behind yourself and check the things that you think that you're going to say about this life. And know that what you're saying as a representative of Messiah is in line with what the Bible actually says. If you are spreading some false teachings, and then you got people believing you, and you pulling them people out away from Messiah advertently or inadvertently, you causing some serious issues for yourself and them. And so I think that we just always have to really be aware of the image that we put forth, because I think the whole point of this thing that Yeshua is saying here is that we are his representatives, and we have to always, at all times, put him and his desires and message at the forefront. Okay, does anybody have any last thoughts, questions, comments? Oh, good.
Yeah, so, a few things. The sheep are not the smartest animals, right? So it's easy to pull the proverbial wool over there. And we have to realize that there are a lot of wolves in sheep clothing. Like the scripture said, the tares are growing with wheat. And so you might have somebody that looks like the sheep, they're around all the time, and literally they're a wolf, they're a tear. And they can easily, put that stumbling block in front of them. And so, it's important as parents and as, elders and those who have been in the faith for a long period of time to train up our children so they can be able to identify those that are in the body, because you're going to have those wolves in the body. They're going to be around, and they're going to be preying on, the immature, the young sheep, kind of lead them astray. So very important for us to train up the children so they can recognize and identify those who look like a sheep, but they ain't acting like a sheep. And one thing I wanted to say about what Teresa said about, you can bring somebody in to the faith, and then they start rising up the rank, and you see the Most High just dealing with them. And we have to watch our hearts, because that can lead to the despising of the person that you just brought in. Because you see the Most High moving with them, and you're like, oh, who they is? So you can start, have a little hate in your heart and despising them and despising their gifts and whatnot. And so it's important that, we just stay mindful and train up our children, make sure that we ain't, our heart is in the right place, no matter who we bring in and what great things they go on to do. Yeah, very good. So
Definitely have to always be, I guess at the end of the day, if we're constantly trying to wear and be the character of the Most High, Messiah, manifesting Messiah's characteristics in us and through us, is going to always cause for us to be doing the things that we're supposed to be doing. You can't slip up and fall if you leading with Messiah.
Yeah.
All right. Okay, so that being said, we will be done for right now. We do have some slight announcements to be made. If you put up there our feast day schedules that's coming up here, if you put that up there, just make it all be full strength up there. And we see our fall holy day celebrations. We got trumpets. Thursday, September 5th, will be out in the open. We'll be keeping trumpets the way that we typically do Shavuot at the park. Over there at, is that the place? Oh yeah, Settlers Cabin, right? The first Flint Pavilion where we was over there for Shavuot. We'll be over there between 1 o'clock and 4 o'clock for trumpets, holy convocations. Day of Atonement actually is on Shabbat. We'll be here from 1 o'clock to 4 o'clock. Then we got Tabernacles, September 19th through the 25th. We'll actually be retreating to North Carolina. And we'll be back here on the last great day. Oh, we won't be back yet?
Come back the day after.
Oh, we coming back the day after. Okay, so the whole Tabernacles and the last day will be on location in North Carolina. But here is our thing. We'll have this up on the websites, and that's about it. Okay. So for now, we'll say Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shalom. God willing, we'll be back on the next Shabbat to continue with. Also,